This is a Scotch bonnet pepper plant, and not just any Scotch bonnet. This is the MOA Scotch bonnet, which stands for Ministry of Agriculture. That means that this specific Scotch bonnet variety is officially recognized by Jamaica's governmental entity. So essentially that means this is the real deal. The MOA Scotch bonnet has a high percentage of ideally shaped fruits, so you can see that bonnet-like shape to them with the dome at the top and those unique folds down at the bottom. And this Scotch bonnet has true Caribbean lineage dating back to when peppers first reached the Caribbean islands hundreds of years ago from South and Central America. Now this current version, of course, has gone through some selective breeding to reach the desired shape and size of these beautiful peppers, but true Scotch bonnets like this one have a very distinctive flavor and aroma. They come from capsicum chinense like ghost peppers and habaneros, but Scotch bonnets are sort of in their own category for flavor, and the MOA Scotch bonnet actually can be grown in its red form as well, but I have one of my favorites here, the yellow MOA Scotch bonnet. This pepper is actually very commonly confused with another pepper from Jamaica, the Jamaican mushroom pepper. They do have a pretty similar appearance, but the mushroom variety actually comes from a different species entirely. It's thought to come from Capsicum annuum, or maybe a cross between Capsicum annuum and Capsicum chinense, but we have grown both of them and they're very different in flavor. I definitely prefer the true Scotch bonnets. Now before I harvest a few of these and give them a taste, a couple of things about growing them. Number one, they can take advantage of a pretty large container. This is something like a 16 or 17 gallon container. I do have another pepper growing in it. This is a banana pepper, and they kind of competed for space here, but still this Scotch bonnet is a pretty huge plant. Dozens and dozens of ripe peppers. We've already harvested several off of this plant, and we have tons and tons more, as you can see there. So essentially, the bigger the container, the more Scotch bonnets you can get. There is a caveat to that though. You do need a pretty long growing season to get these peppers to ripen up. We're almost in October, and these were planted back in March. So you're looking at about 120 plus days after transplanting outdoors until you get your ripe Scotch bonnets. But if you have experience growing habaneros or ghost peppers, they're really no more difficult to grow than those varieties. So without any further ado, let's harvest one of these beautiful peppers and give them a taste. So like I mentioned, the MOA Scotch bonnet comes in red, and this is actually the yellow variant, even though this is very clearly orange. But you can see they sort of go through this transformation. This one is basically just finished ripening, and it's basically yellow. But then as they continue to ripen, they do turn orange. But these are definitely better in my opinion when it comes to flavor. I've grown both of them, and I just love the flavor of yellow Capsicum chinense varieties, especially these Scotch bonnets. They're just so delicious and citrusy. Heat level is around habanero level, so between 100,000 and 250,000 SHUs, depending on the pepper and the growing conditions. Without any further ado, I'm going to cut one of these open and get a smell of this thing. This is one of my favorite parts. Oh, it's such a delicious smelling pepper. It just smells so citrusy. It smells like lemon almost. And the fragrance is powerful. I mean, unlike any other pepper that you might find at the grocery store, much more powerful and potent than a habanero that you buy here in America. It's just bright, fruity, tropical, and you can see why people use these in cooking and really focus on the flavor of these peppers and try not to get in the way of this flavor because it's just so good and unique on its own. So this is a very hot pepper, and full disclosure, it's like 9 in the morning right now, but I'm still gonna taste it. Yep. It's really not overwhelming if you're used to eating really hot peppers. This will be a walk in the park for you. It's very hot. I would say it's probably on the lower end of that range though. This pepper in particular, maybe around 100,000 SHUs. And of course, if I were to eat more of the placenta where the seeds are attached, you'll get a lot more heat there. It's very concentrated. So if you want to use these peppers, get the great flavor, but reduce the heat a little bit, you can scrape out all of that white part and all of the seeds, taking away a good amount of the heat with it. But for flavor, man, these are just, they're so juicy and it just explodes with flavor and aroma. The walls aren't super thick like a bell pepper or anything like that, but they're thick enough to get a nice crunch. You probably heard that when I bit the pepper. And since they're so fresh right off the plant, you get a lot of moisture content as well. So these Scotch bonnets have so many different uses. Traditionally, you might use these to make hot sauce, which I did, and I'll show you it in just a minute, but also Jamaican jerk seasoning and pastes for marinating meats and grilling. And then even fresh salsas if you like it really spicy. This would be a great addition if you like your salsa extra spicy, to a nice fresh tomato salsa. Or pickles if you like pickling your own cucumbers or even other peppers. You want to amp up the heat and add some citrusy flavor as well. These would be a great addition. But on the subject of hot sauce and using Scotch bonnets, I actually made this sauce, which is a very simple, traditional style Scotch bonnet hot sauce. Basically, I chopped up some onion, garlic, mango, fresh thyme, and Scotch bonnets and simmered it with a bit of rice vinegar and some salt. Then added some fresh lime juice and blended it up. You could get more experimental with fruits and spices, but sometimes the simplest sauces are the best. By the way, we have a new channel, Pepper Geek Eats, where we'll be posting all of our pepper recipes and spicy food content. So if you're interested in using your peppers in the kitchen, that's where you'll find all of our recipes going forward. Here on the main channel, Pepper Geek, we're gonna keep it gardening focused and pepper varieties and things like that. But if you're interested in cooking and using your hot peppers and sweet peppers, all of that will now be on Pepper Geek Eats, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below. If you want to be one of our first subscribers, we'd really appreciate it. But anyway, a basic overview of this. This is a very fruity sauce. The mango is actually huge, so it does make up a pretty big percentage of this hot sauce. So I'm gonna give it a little taste here. This is my first time tasting it cold. I tasted it fresh out of the pan, but now it's cooled off and it's spent a night in the fridge, so let's try it today. Super fruity, bright, citrusy. I think I could amp the heat up a little bit. I think I used maybe 4 or 5 Scotch bonnets for maybe double this quantity, but really good. The Scotch bonnets are the star of the show here. You could definitely experiment with different fruits as well, maybe pineapple or papaya or guava. Those are some nice traditional choices, but there's nothing like a nice, simple, straightforward, few ingredient hot sauce to put your peppers to good use, and Scotch bonnets are truly one of my favorites. But to experience a Scotch bonnet, you really do have to grow them yourself or find them locally in your area, and sometimes that's easier said than done. So I'll leave a link down below where you can get some seeds for this variety if you want to grow them yourself. Let me know if you have any unique uses for these. As you saw, we have a lot of them left on the plant. Thanks for watching Pepper Geek, and I'll see you soon.